Hello, I'm Sedloff. A bit about my teaching philosophy. My students are all individual people. They bring their own backgrounds to class, and it's important to acknowledge this and not hand wave it away. If you act like you don't see color, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability status, anything like that, you're not seeing the student for who they are. And that only benefits the existing status quo. And it can't just be implied. We have to create an explicitly inclusive environment from the start. Science needs everyone in order to address the myriad complicated issues society faces. And not just because we need the numbers, not in a generic sense, but because we need different ways of looking at the world. There's a tendency within science to try to be apolitical, but really, if you're not taking a stance, you're still making a political choice, choosing to reinforce the way things have always been. A study published by Bryce E. Hughes in Science Advances in 2018 found that despite higher rates of involvement in undergraduate research, usually a strong predictor of retention in STEM, students in sexual minority groups are more likely to drop out or switch majors away from a STEM field. And the issue isn't with getting kids into STEM. The issue is keeping them there, and you can only do that by maintaining an environment that is intentionally inclusive. I create an inclusive environment, starting by being authentically me. My gender identity is non-binary, for example, and I don't shy away from asking students to use my pronouns, they, them, and preferred title, Sedloff. Students actually tend to embrace this pretty well. Data from Gallup shows that Generation Z is most likely to personally know someone who uses gender-neutral pronouns and most comfortable with using a person's preferred pronouns. One way to make that easier is for everyone to start off with their pronouns. At Duke Tip, all staff members wear pronoun pins, and there are gender-neutral bathrooms available. I feel welcome as I am for once in my life, and I'm an adult and I can ask for things. Students may or may not feel comfortable doing so. And even students who start out very interested in science, if they don't feel welcome, if they feel they can't be who they are in that field, they have a choice between either leaving for somewhere where they can be themselves or staying and having that as a source of anxiety and pain the whole time. I also have a number of sensory issues that I accommodate, for example, by wearing these glasses because of photophobia and these headphones when I'm in public because noise can be overwhelming. I seem completely different when I'm teaching because by its nature, teaching is something you plan for. You write a script, you rehearse, you know your topic inside and out, anticipate the areas where misconceptions are likely to arise, add in areas for questioning. Or you plan activities that give students opportunities to have hands-on authentic experiences with the content you love. I can do all that very well, but at a social event with adults, I might be very different. So we can't judge the whole person by a little snapshot we get from seeing someone an hour a day. One thing I want to do is be inclusive intentionally. I want a quiet space in my classroom where someone's allowed to go if they need to, with ear defenders like these and STEM toys, and I want a more flexible seating arrangement to allow for students who need movement. I want my classroom to be a welcoming place from the beginning for everyone and not just as an afterthought. Once you know a student and they feel safe, then you can teach them the content. And I love my content area. My background's not in education. I did my undergraduate degree in chemistry with a minor in math and my master's in chemistry. And I love getting a chance to really engage students on their what-if questions. The questions that they tell me they've had shut down before. And I also know enough to recognize when I'm not an expert on something, admit it, and look it up with them, or find a reference that explains it later, or encourage them to help each other answer their questions. I love providing opportunities for students to have more lab-based experiences, and Duke Tip has really provided me with a unique opportunity to expand on this, because here students have laptops, and we've been able to take students on some really cool excursions. For example, we spent 2 mornings making gold and silver nanoparticles in lab, and the next day we toured Smith, a facility on campus with electron microscopes, and they were able to see the nanoparticles that they made on a scanning electron microscope. And that's amazing. I want all my students to have that kind of opportunity. So that's what I would be aiming to do with this award.